So, what's the deal with 2026? What does it actually have in store for your wallet, especially if you're a homeowner? Well, we're about to find out. Over the next few minutes, we're going to break down the 3 biggest factors that are going to affect your budget. We're talking mortgages, taxes, and insurance. Let's dive right in.
I think we can all agree the last few years have been a real roller coaster for our finances. So that is the big question on everyone's mind. Is this the year things finally start to level out a bit? We're going to dig into the numbers and give you a really clear picture of what you should be preparing for.
All right, let's kick things off with some good news. And for anyone who owns a home or is thinking about buying one, this could be some really good news. We're starting with the single biggest expense for most of us, the mortgage.
You know, it really wasn't that long ago that people were looking at mortgage rates climbing well over 7%. I mean, that put a serious chill on the entire housing market. But wow, what a difference a year makes. The picture in 2026 is looking a whole lot better.
Yeah, look at that number, 5.99%. That's the average for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage right now. And let me tell you, dropping below that 6% threshold, that is a huge deal, both psychologically and, of course, financially. It means lower monthly payments, and frankly, it makes the dream of owning a home feel a lot more possible for a lot more people.
So you might be asking, why the sudden drop? Well, a big part of the answer points straight to the Federal Reserve. You see, towards the end of 2025, they started cutting their main interest rate. It was a big move to get inflation under control, and it creates this ripple effect across the whole economy. When it gets cheaper for banks to borrow money, they can pass those savings on to you and me in the form of lower rates for things like mortgages.
Okay, so that's the market. Now let's switch gears to something a little more, shall we say, predictable, but absolutely essential. Your tax calendar for 2026.
All right, let's get these dates on your radar. First up, January 15th. If you make estimated tax payments, that's your final deadline for the last quarter of 2025. Then, keep an ear out in late January. That's typically when the IRS throws open the doors and officially starts processing tax returns. And then, of course, the big one, Wednesday, April 15th, tax day. That's your absolute final day to get those 2025 federal taxes filed. So yeah, definitely some key dates to mark down.
Okay, deep breath. We've had the good news on mortgages and the necessary news on taxes. Now we have to tackle the one area that's still putting a serious squeeze on household budgets, and that's insurance.
And here's the number you really need to brace for. Projections show that in 2026, both home and auto insurance premiums are set to rise another 4 to 6.7%. Now, that might not sound like a huge jump, but remember, this is on top of years of already steep increases. It really starts to add up. So what's going on here? Why are these costs just relentlessly climbing? Well, it's really a perfect storm of a few things. For one, the cost to rebuild a home after a disaster has just gone through the roof, and that's being driven by more frequent and more intense weather events. On top of that, you've got new tariffs on things like construction materials and car parts, which just pushes the cost of any repair, big or small, even higher. And unfortunately, those costs get passed right along to us.
But, and this is a pretty important but, there is a small silver lining here. While prices are definitely still going up, the speed of that increase is finally starting to slow down. We're moving away from those massive double-digit shock increases we saw back in 2024 and 2025. It's like the climb is becoming less of a cliff and more of a steep hill, which is at least a little bit of relief.
Okay, so we have these very different things happening all at once, right? We've got mortgage rates going down, which is great. Tax deadlines are, well, tax deadlines, and insurance costs are still going up. So what does this all mean when you put it together for your own bottom line in 2026?
So let's just lay it all out. Think of it like this. You've got this awesome tailwind pushing you forward. That's the mortgage rates cooling off, giving you some breathing room. But at the same time, you're running straight into a pretty strong headwind, and that's those insurance premiums still climbing. And right in the middle, you have the steady, unchanging reality of tax deadlines. It's a real financial tug-of-war. And that really brings us to the million-dollar question for you in 2026. Because with these forces pulling in opposite directions, any money you save on your mortgage could just get gobbled up by that higher insurance bill. So the question is, what's your plan? How are you going to balance these opposing trends to make sure you come out on top?